In national news tonight, in a highly anticipated hour-long press conference tonight, President Biden doubled down on his insistence to stay in the race. He denied reports he can only work limited hours during the day, but did say he needs to pace himself and called his debate performance a, quote, stupid mistake. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has more on how it all unfolded.
President Biden says he's optimistic, but the mood of the Democratic Party is anything but. Even those who are not openly calling for him to leave the race are voicing concerns about his shaky standing in the polls. Now, in this press conference, Biden took questions about calls for him to leave the race, but tried to focus his answers on policy instead of the controversy that surrounds him. In his opening remarks, the president touting the strength of NATO's alliance after a week-long summit in Washington, and went after his opponent, former President Trump's stance on foreign affairs, the economy, and immigration. Biden says this moment matters, true for foreign and domestic affairs, and his political future.
There's a long way to go in this campaign, and so I'm just going to keep moving.
Earlier in the day, the number of congressional Democrats calling for him to leave the race reached 14, with even more voicing doubts he can win in November, with time running out to turn things around or possibly replace him at the top of the ticket. The president came out an hour late after the press conference was already pushed back an hour. Before the press conference even began, during remarks at the NATO summit, the president made a gaffe that reporters in the room say drew gasps from the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelenskyy.
And later, instead of saying Vice President Harris's name,
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her.
Biden explaining why he's adamant that he'll remain the Democratic presidential nominee.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
There are reports some Democrats were waiting for the end of the NATO summit and after this press conference to go public with their calls for Biden to leave the race. So with those events in the books, we watch and see if that comes to fruition. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atra El-Nashar.